We're live.
Hello. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Yes, welcome to our live show. Today we were back from our recent cruise on the Emerald Princess.
We have.
And we are the Cruising Canucks, Jill and Jerry.
Oh, he's taking my line. I usually say that every week.
And stay tuned. We are going to talk all about our recent experience Princess. I can't even talk. It's been so many lives, I can't even say the words right.
He's just so excited to share everything. He wants to tell everybody everything. So stay with us. Well, hello, and thank you for joining us. If you're with us live and you're in Canada, happy Thanksgiving to all our fellow Canadians. We are hoping you're having a wonderful weekend, a busy weekend, I'm sure. And so maybe not all the Canadians can be with us today. A lot of people are probably spending time with their families and making turkeys and hams and all those good things.
And if you're joining us on our podcast and you're catching us probably after the Thanksgiving, although this will be out Thanksgiving Monday here in Canada, so you can catch us on Spotify or Apple Music and YouTube, of course, for our podcasts, which is a recording of this live show.
There you go.
And if you are listening to us on a recording and you want to catch us live, 2 p.m. on Sundays Eastern Time is when we're right here.
Right.
And we are back.
We are.
We're back on a sunny Sunday, at least where we are right now. It's a little cool. It's cooled off since we left for our cruise, that's for sure.
Yeah, it has. It definitely feels like fall is in the air. We've got lots of leaves falling on our property right now. I'm going to have to tackle that in the coming days. But it's a beautiful sunny day here.
Yeah, spoiler on the stories about our cruise that we've got coming up. But we left some fall colors here where we live, and we went to a cruise to Eastern Canada to see the fall colors. We didn't really see any until we came back home again.
Yeah, there's little touches, but we are definitely further into the fall in Northern Ontario than Eastern Canada is for sure.
Yep, and I came back from another cruise with a little bit of a sore throat, if you can hear it or not. So, unfortunately, I blame the airplanes. All that dry air when you're flying. We did a lot of flying.
We did do a lot of flying.
We did 5 different flights on this to get to this cruise and back home. So. But
every single flight was on time. Our luggage made it with us, so it all went well. Thank you, Air Canada, for not being on strike. It was smooth sailing both there and back.
Some Canucks updates, I think, is the next plan.
Okay.
And it looks like, so this past week, we had our Adventures in Quebec City come out. So thank you to everybody that's watched that video. We showed our travel all the way from getting up here at our place at 3 o'clock in the morning, going to the airport and not arriving into Quebec City until about almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was a 13-hour travel day for us, even though you can drive there in less than that time.
It's true. It's true. But it worked out to be nice in that we, did an early flight out of our local airport that brought us into Toronto in time to go to the lounge and have breakfast. And then we flew to Ottawa and we were there in time to have a leisurely lunch and chat met some wonderful people in the lounge, ended up having a great time speaking to some fellow Newfoundlanders. Anyways, and then from there made our way to Quebec City. So yeah, it was a long day, but we had a wonderful day. It worked out really well and had a good time. Yep. And so a lot of people ask, obviously living where we live, we have to do a little short flight to a major airport, whether we're flying out of Sioux, Michigan and going to Detroit, or we're flying out of Sioux, Ontario, and we have to go to Toronto. Always have to do that. And then generally we can do a direct flight somewhere. But this time we chose to do a stopover in Ottawa because the financial savings that we saved by doing that stopover more than paid for our hotel in Quebec City. It was that much of a difference with the 2 tickets. So hence why we did it, and we do it. I mean, we won't do it if it's like a half an hour stopover because I'm afraid about luggage. But when we knew that it was going to be a 2.5 hour stopover, we thought, well, we'll do it this way and it'll save us $400. So it worked out well.
For sure. Yeah. So we had a great time, and we loved Quebec City back in the spring. So we were happy to be there and spend an extra night, especially staying right down in old Quebec. And everybody there, Quebec City is so quaint. It's so friendly. It's so European feeling. It's just we absolutely love our time in Quebec City. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just walking around and checking out and taking in the atmosphere of where you are and seeing everything. But yeah, we ended up going into this little downstairs pub in Old Quebec City and had a phenomenal meal and, great waiter that we were chatting with and just relaxed and enjoyed the evening there. So it was lots of fun.
Yep, for sure. And Mrs. Canuck booked that. If you've seen the video, you saw the loft that we had, which I presume was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I had no idea that we were getting that until we showed up, and it was like a shock to me. I hope it came through on the camera in the video that it was like, wow, take a look at this place, because it really was in the moment that you saw us exploring this place for the first time.
If we were ever to spend like a longer time, like in Quebec City, I highly recommend doing that. I almost felt like it was a little bit of a waste. It was such a large, grand space for us just being there for one night. I wish we had a week to sort of hang out in that place.
For sure.
But it was truly enjoyable, beautiful spot.
Mm-hmm. And also this week, so the deadline to Journey of the Secret Word is actually tonight at midnight. I did check earlier today, and I think we have 255 entries so far. So lots of people are in to see if they can win the level 8 luggage this time.
That's wonderful, guys.
Yeah, it's amazing to see so many people.
Thank you all for participating in our crazy ideas. Like it just,
It started with several dozen people in the first time we did it. Now we're 200 and some odd people.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So
that's wonderful.
No, it's exciting to see, and we travel around with these letters all the time. We get some funny looks at people.
Oh yeah, you should see us. We'll be in different venues, whether it's on a cruise ship at a lounge or, even in the main dining room or whatever. And people are looking at us, or we're out on an excursion and they see me sitting there with a little letter popped up somewhere and they're looking at me like, you have no kids with you. Why do you have little alphabets? They all think I'm a little crazy. Maybe I am.
Yeah. So if you haven't got in your entry yet, it sounds like lots of you have, but then tonight will be the deadline. Then tomorrow, the next day, we'll work on doing the draw and getting the video made, and we'll let you know early this week. I think I'm planning for Tuesday to reveal who wins the luggage this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what we got coming up this week, as well as Journey of the Secret Word, we've also got the day 1 embarkation to Quebec City on the cruise we just got off of that we're going to talk about today.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of exciting because it's the weirdest embarkation we've ever done, in the sense that the ship didn't leave that day.
Yeah.
So we were curious about a lot of different things, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, watch the day 1 stuff. We kind of fumbled our way through this bizarre.
It's kind of it was a unique embarkation. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
First embarkation we've ever done where there's no sail away party the day you get on the boat.
That's right, because you weren't going anywhere.
You weren't sailing away.
So I liked that they kept the sail away party till we actually sailed away.
Yeah. Yeah, I was curious because I thought, wouldn't this be really hokey if just because it's day 1 they do a sail away even though we don't sail away?
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't, so they kept it true.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what else?
I just wanted to go to this comment, a couple of comments here, but look at Bruce and Tawny just wrote, the letter blocks are smaller in real life than I would have expected. Well, that's good, because I feel like they're like massive when I'm pulling them out and putting them somewhere in a public venue. So,
And then Ruth also says she loves looking for the letters.
Oh, good.
She threw that in there too. Yeah.
Well, you have a wonderful comment here. I don't know if you just want to stop and read this one.
Let's look at the next comment. Yeah. It
says, hi, everyone. I compliment your cinematic, I can't even read it. So you say cinematic excellence. I grew up with photography all around me, and especially Scenes of Alaska by
Ansel
Adams. We have eclipsed the art from standard he has set.
Wow.
You have. So, wow. Mm-hmm. There's a nice compliment for
you. Well, thank you. Yeah.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Especially since videography is kind of new to us. I've done photography, some wedding and different things. So, but yeah, this is all kind of, we're learning on the fly. So that's good to know. And there's a lot of footage you don't see. There's a lot of shaky and stuff. So we cut out the bad stuff.
Yeah. We try to get rid of all that bad stuff. Brad saying, my wife and I have been looking for the letters religiously. So it's kind of a fun little thing, right?
Okay, so we'll go back to the comment of the week.
Okay.
This is kind of related. We've touched on this a little bit already, but the comment of the week was that was a well-oiled travel day. Curious if you use air tags. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit, and also just about travel. People that haven't traveled a lot since COVID really have an interesting spin on, they think that everybody's flights are late, they're losing their luggage all the time.
Right. That's a fear, because we did see when people started traveling post-COVID that there was like airport lounges full of luggage and stuff like that. Yeah.
And I'm sure it still happens to a lot of people. We know people that have had their flights canceled, delayed, they've missed connecting flights. That still happens, as it always did before COVID.
Yeah.
We just have been on one heck of a streak, knock on wood.
I was just going to say, he's going to jinx me right now, I'm pretty sure, guys.
Like our last 2 cruises alone, we did a combination of 11 different flights. We did not lose luggage. We were on time for each one. No problems at all. So that's pretty interesting.
But to answer the question, we do use air tags. When we were going to Europe for the first time ever, and it was post-COVID, and we saw everything on the news about it, we decided that, maybe air tags is a good investment. And I really appreciate them, because I am one of these people. So years ago, my mom and dad went on a cruise, and my dad's luggage was lost, and it was a transatlantic cruise. And so they did the majority of the cruise without my father having any luggage. So that's always stuck in my head traveling. So that's why I always, when I have 2 check suitcases, half Mr. Canuck's clothes is in one, half of mine in with it, and vice versa. So at least we always have 3 or 4 days worth of clothing. But anyways, sorry, I'm getting long-winded here. But the air tags were very useful that time, because I was anxious about it, and we were in Gatwick Airport, and we waited probably the longest we've ever waited to get our luggage. It was close to an hour before our suitcase came. But I was able to stare at my phone that whole hour, knowing that, okay, it shows me that they're here, that they're in the airport. So my luggage did make it to England with me. So I just have to be patient and wait for it to come. And it did eventually come. Mm-hmm. That was long-winded for all that story.
Air tags. Funny thing about air tags is that they sometimes know kind of roughly where you are, but not exactly. We've had twice now that we've been on a ship. And what happens if you have an air tag somewhere, and if you're nearby it, it knows that. But when you walk away from it, it gives you a warning. But sometimes that can be a funny warning. Oh, yeah. Because we were the first time we ever we realized that we were in the Caribbean, I believe. Yeah. And all of a sudden we had a notification saying your luggage is last been seen in the Caribbean Sea. Yeah. And we had won this trip saying that your luggage was last seen in the North Atlantic. Yes. And we had this vision of our suitcases floating away.
Floating away. Luckily, they're just in our cabin. But yeah, you get those notices on your phone when you're traveling with them. Yeah. And actually, so we bought ourselves a couple of air tags, like I said earlier, and then one of our children for Christmas one year gave us personalized. I didn't know you could do this, but you can get them engraved, and so we have Cruising Canucks air tags that they made for us.
Yep. So we have in all our luggage and our backpacks that have all our gear in it and everything else in case we needed to ever.
I even have one in our wallet with our passports and all of our travel documents. I have one in that wallet, and it's attached to Mr. Canuck's phone in case I ever lose my purse or backpack. Then he'll be able to track where all the important documentation and passport things are.
And of course, when you're on a Princess cruise, your medallion does the exact same things, so she can track me all over the ship. So.
Yeah, I never once did that though.
You know,
it's funny.
I did it once with you. You went somewhere, and I was like, I wonder if she's coming back soon. You went off to go shopping or something like that, I believe it was. Yeah.
I was just going to say, if I did it with Mr. Canuck, I just see him walking in circles on the cruise ship, trying to find his way. Right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He did get lost a few times on the Emerald Princess.
Oh, this is pick on Mr. Canuck Day.
Sorry. But it's true. You were making fun of yourself throughout it. Not just me.
Oh, and
so someone's asking, how do they put in the secret word for the drawing? So you want to?
I saw that.
Oh, okay.
Just go to www.cruisingcanucks.com, and there's a link in the top right or wherever you find the menu on your device, and it says, I think, secret. You just click on that, and it'll bring you to the form that you can put in your entry. So that's all you do.
There you go.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And if you run into problems with that, then you can always email us. Some people email us for help with it or to help with an entry, and that's Jill and Jerry at cruisingcanucks.ca.
There you go.
So I think .com will work as well, but yeah.
Pretty sure he's tried to buy all the domains for Cruising Canucks.
Cruising Canucks everything.
Yeah.
Oh, so next segment is Jerry's Cruise Weather Watch.
Oh.
And yeah, I was sad that I was away, that I wasn't able to update everybody on the goings on of the latest hurricanes that came in. We were on the cruise the time that was playing out. But the good news is, looks like for the week ahead, things look pretty quiet in the Caribbean. That we are on the backside of hurricane season, so hopefully it gets a lot quieter. Mm-hmm. But it does look like there's a chance for maybe next week at this time, really early next week, like 7-8 days away, something might be rolling in towards, we'll see, Puerto Rico, southern Bahamas. It's a long ways away, so things could change quite a bit between now and then, but kind of just something I'm keeping an eye on. And it's your favorite time.
Uh-oh.
Trivia.
That must mean trivia. Ruthie, where were you this week for trivia? Trivia time.
Okay. What cruise line recently announced another private beach experience? So you know how they all have private islands or private spaces on different islands where they have...
Recently?
Someone just announced this week that there's another one coming out.
Oh, I don't have a clue. I know Carnival's been building one. It's not that then.
No, it's a recent announcement of a new one that's not built yet. It's in the planning stages and it's going to be coming out. I even have a hint I can probably give you on this one. I'm just waiting to see if anybody has any guesses who's up on their cruise news.
Oh, okay.
We got James and Kimmy Cat are saying Royal.
Royal
Love to
in
Travel
Mexico?
are saying Royal Caribbean in Mexico.
Oh.
Bruce and Tawny. It sounds like that's 3 Royals.
Wow.
I was going to give the hint of being which cruise line is building so many mega ships that they can only go to their own private.
Makes sense. Yeah, right. You're right. When you think about it that way, yeah, it makes sense. They're building private islands because that's what they're doing with some of their largest ships. Is they're just leaving Florida and going just to private islands.
So yeah, so James and Kimmy Cat have let it out. So what's interesting, and I see that Christine has just kind of pointed out that it is going to be near Costa Maya.
Oh, that's nice. That'll alleviate the congestion in Costa Maya port.
That's what I kind of thought the same
Hopefully.
thing. Yeah, I thought maybe that's a possibility, is that maybe with Royal Caribbean going to their own destination, it might make the old port of Costa Maya
not so crowded.
Not so crazy. Yeah.
Because trust me, it's a very sad day for me when I pull up in my little Holland America 2,000 passenger ship and I see that I'm parked in between 2 Royal Caribbean ships. I'm like, not getting off the ship today in Costa Maya.
Now the bad news is you're gonna have to wait about 3 years.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think they said it wasn't gonna open until 2027. I think is the target date.
Yeah, it takes a while.
So they're still in the planning stages, but it sounds like it's going to be very similar to Perfect Day.
Okay.
So which will be interesting because we're going to be at Perfect Day later this fall.
Yes.
So we're going to see that for the first time.
First time ever.
We'll get our first taste of Perfect Day.
Yeah. With a mega ship there with us, right?
Yeah.
Are we with Wonder of the Seas?
I believe we're there with a mega. Yep.
Should be fun.
And trivia wasn't too bad.
No, it wasn't too bad. I had no clue. But I'm glad everybody else, or a lot of you guys out there, everybody helping me out.
You had an excuse. You're on a cruise.
I was on that's
Although
true.
this last week you weren't.
Okay.
You're busy catching up from a cruise.
Yeah, for sure.
Putting up with me walking around being sick.
So fun.
Okay, so time to talk about our most recent cruise on Emerald Princess.
Okay.
We had the Premier package that was gifted to us by Princess to give it a try. And the Premier package has been rejuvenated. It's been updated to a lot more of an all-inclusive experience.
Right.
With some limits been removed that were part of the old package.
Yeah, we purchased the Premier package back in February for our group cruise, which we enjoyed. Did. But it has since changed and expanded to what it offered then. I mean, a lot of the same stuff is still there, but they've added a few more perks to it. And so it was really interesting to have it. And I mean, for me, of course, the idea of having unlimited specialty dining was, or still is, and remains to be the biggest draw of the change, the biggest improvement, in my opinion. We were able to book specialty dining. So we were on a 10-day cruise and we ate in the main dining room 2 nights out of those 10 days. The rest of the time we either did specialty dining or do they call it freestyle? What do they call their casual dining specialty restaurants that are a little bit of an upcharge, not as much as, their true specialty ones. Anyways, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
And so this new package that's come out, the new Premier package, it wasn't rolled out all at once across the cruise or across Princess.
Ships.
So it came out in different ships at different times. The ship that we just got off, the Emerald Princess, that had just come out in the week or two before that we were on the ship. And I think there was still another ship or two after this one that was going to have, I think Coral rings a bell. One of those smaller ones still had to be rolled out. So that was interesting that they did it that way. And it was interesting because we were one of the first ones on this ship, in the first couple of weeks of it being there to give it a try.
Right.
And that kind of had its hurdles too, because they were still getting used to all that and the way it all worked in their own system. We found it was a bit of a challenge for us to be able to make sure it was working for us.
Yeah.
But that was more of a technology thing. The package itself, and so it worked the whole time. It just was not showing up on our phones sometimes that we didn't have it.
Well, and it wasn't showing up to our waiters and waitresses and bar staff too. So, we would order a premier glass of wine with dinner and they'd be like, oh, you don't have the premier package. I'm like, well, we do, but it's just not working right now. And we've been in contact with guest services and they said, just to go ahead. Anyways, guest services eventually put a note on our account and then it was a non-issue, but it was sort of a computer glitch that had nothing to do with the ship itself.
It was just a computer thing that every time we paid for nothing more than what we should have for the premier package. It was just a bit of a hiccup. So
yeah.
But yeah, so there were so many different things. There was a new premier package we were trying on this trip. There was not leaving from the port the day we got on the ship was new to us on this cruise.
For sure.
The ship itself, ironically, was not new to us.
It was the very first princess ship we had ever sailed on, and Mr. Canuck says he has no memory of it. So that's hilarious.
I only have 2 memories of that cruise.
Okay. And what are the
memories?
The very first. How many years ago was it we were on it the first time? 13 years ago?
I think it was, not that long ago. 7 or 9 years ago. I forget what it was. Yeah, it was like our 17th cruise, I think.
Oh, okay.
But the 2 things I remembered about the Emerald Princess from the first time we got on it in Houston, and I didn't say Galveston.
Yeah,
it was Houston, right by the oil refineries and everything else. They used to go out of Houston, believe it or not.
Probably the ugliest port that we've sailed away from.
But we did that cruise. I remember that the buffet was very frustrating, that you had to line up and go into the buffet and come out one direction.
Yeah.
And there was no way to just walk up and get something from a station. You had to do this big, huge...
If you forgot to pick up a bun or butter for your bun, you sort of had to get back to the very start. It was very difficult to navigate. Yeah.
So that was frustrating. And the other thing I remembered about it was in the main dining room, they had so many tables of 2 that were all this far apart, and like you couldn't even get between the tables. Like I had a tough time squeezing to sit on the back seat because the tables were so lined up side by side, which to me isn't really dining for 2.
No.
So that kind of always stuck in my mind too.
We thought we had a table for 2, but in actuality, I think we really had a table for 10 or 12, how many there was. And I mean, it worked out fine in that we weren't vlogging, so we didn't have to worry. We try now to get tables for 2 because we don't want to film strangers and while they're enjoying their vacation. But, we ended up making friends with everybody we had dinner with at that time. So it worked out okay. Some of them we went to shows with and went to the casino with and stuff like that. So
yeah. So that was the ship wasn't new to us. Some of the ports were new to us. We had, I think, 2 new ports on this. The other ones we had seen on the last cruise. So we have been to Saguenay was new for us. The big fjord there that you can go down, which is pretty impressive.
Probably the highlight of the cruise for me was Saguenay. We enjoyed the sailing, and we have never felt more welcomed at any cruise port than we did there. I was telling people that it felt like we opened up our balcony in the morning and we walked into a carnival going on the dock. They had artists and musicians and performers there. They were there mic'd and talking to us while everybody that was on the side of the ship that we were on were watching off from our balconies in our bathrobes at 7 a.m. in the morning. It was sort of a wake-up call. Some people didn't enjoy that, but it was such a warm welcome and a beautiful day there that it was definitely the highlight of the destinations for me.
The other port that was new to us was St. John, New Brunswick. So that was the only day that we really had some really down weather. We had some rain early in Quebec City, but it left before we left the cruise. But we had some weather in St. John, but it stopped in the morning, so we managed to get out and explore. So that was a new port to us as well. So those are the new things and the old things.
Yes.
But all in all, I don't know where to start. Let's start with the very beginning, I guess. So embarkation in Quebec, the weird 2 days there, challenges. What do you think?
Yeah, it was definitely the most interesting embarkation, and we were wondering how it would work out because Princess doesn't give you a time slot as to when to come. You just are either blue laned or green laned once you've done all your pre-boarding stuff. And so we thought, well, what time should we go? How long will they have it open for you to board? Do you have to board in a certain time? We weren't sure about all of that. Anyways, we got there relatively early because we love to get on early and check out a cruise ship. So we were there 10-ish, I would say. And it was very confusing for sure. There seemed to have been a lack of signage out in the port area. And so people were confused as to where to drop off their bags. And then even the more confusion was where to line up to actually get into the cruise terminal. And depending on what staff member you talked to, you were sent 2 different ways when really there was only one way in. So yeah, we ended up sort of assisting people and telling them where to put their bags and where to get in line so that they could join us and get in. So that was interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And the getting on, it was interesting that there were some people we noticed. We thought everybody would get on the same day and spend the night on the ship. We did see a few. I don't know how many there were. Some people got on the ship the next day. So technically,
multiple people.
Day 2 of the cruise, we saw people rolling on with their luggage on day 2.
Coming on with their luggage. I don't know if like that was their plan originally, or if they had a flight delay or something and they got there the next day. But we did see, like, it wasn't just 1 or 2 people. It was probably 20 people, I would say, we saw the next day coming on with luggage. Maybe it was new performers or crew or something like that were coming. I don't know, but we did, when we came back from our day at port in Quebec City, we were shocked how many people we saw coming on with luggage.
And we had a lot of questions about muster.
Yeah.
How was this going to work? Did we have to muster the first day, or could we muster the second day, or was it the same day for everybody? It turns out it was a 2-day event.
They had staff at all their muster stations with the little, medallion set up there that you would go and scan your thing, your medallion. For all the day that we got on the ship, that evening we went to bed, I still saw them set up. And the next morning we woke up, they were still there. I don't know. I mean, they must have closed them down at 11 or midnight or something like that. But they were there all day for 2 days.
Yep, and you were able to watch the safety video on your phone or your TV day 1 or 2, so you didn't matter. You didn't have to do it the same day.
Right.
The only thing that happened on just a single day was when they did the 7 short blasts and 1 long blast.
With the captain going over the announcement. He did that around a half an hour before we set sail.
Yep, so that was done on the second day. But up to that point, you could muster at any time you wanted in those 2 days, which kind of surprised us. We thought we'd do one or the other, not both. But
yeah, we thought maybe they'd have a window of, within these 5 hours, we'll have staff here for you to go and check in. But no, they had them there for 2 days.
Yeah. So once we were on board, and once we realized we were tied up and we were going to be in Quebec City for a couple of days, and we were very excited about doing that. We thought that was very novel. Mm-hmm. We found one point that would become very frustrating, which had nothing to do with Princess, but had to do with the Canadian government. And that is that there was a rule, if you were in a cruise ship at a Canadian port, that only 1 bar per deck is allowed to be open on the ship.
Which made huge congestion, as you can imagine. So, for instance, on deck 6, Good Spirits Bar was the only one that was allowed to be open, or was the only one that Princess opened. And so that served the whole piazza area. Plus, it served the dining rooms that were off of that area. So, at one point I counted 20-something staff members there trying to get drinks. They had the bartenders behind the bar were like shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow, trying to serve people. It just caused a congestion that was it was chaotic, is the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, because if you think of Princess ships, the newer designs, even this ship a little bit older, there's usually a main deck from one end of the ship to the other, have multiple bars and venues along it. None of those were allowed to be open except just one. So you would have people ordering a drink at one end of the ship if you ran into wait staff. And there was some staff out there that were trying to make it work. They'd have to go all the way back along the ship to get your drink and come all the way back with it.
They were doing that for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, luckily, the plus side was that we were doing this in a Princess ship where you could order drinks on your app and get them delivered to, so we would go to an empty venue, like Wheelhouse Bar, for instance, wasn't opened. So we could sit in there and have great views and all of that sort of thing. And then order a drink on the app.
Yeah, so you could do it on the app, and also like it wasn't just alcoholic drinks. Like if you wanted to order a water or anything like that would be served at a bar, it was just the one bar. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't. It wasn't like you'd go to the Wheelhouse and order some water if you wanted, or it was all in one facility, and that was on each deck. There was one, and so that became a challenge. So
especially when you're doing an overnight, because like it's one thing for it to be like that at day, everybody's off in port, it's not a big deal. But when you're in Quebec City for 2 days, and most of the people, a lot of people, I should say, were on board, from dinner time on in the evening, but yet they couldn't open any of the venues or a lot of the venues.
Yeah, so what we thought was going to be a huge asset to this cruise was being in this port for 2 days became a little bit of a problem, and not because of Princess, because of the rules of the local country.
It was interesting, is what we can say. Yeah, you struggled to find a a seat.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the places that were open, it was tough to get in. The bars that weren't open, it was a ghost town. You could sit anywhere, but you had to wait a long time to get service.
Sure.
So yeah, so that was a little bit of a challenge for getting started. And for people who do have questions or comments, keep throwing them in there. We'll come back and do the comments in a little bit. And if you have any questions about what we're saying,
yeah.
But all in all, so how did you find the ship itself? It's an older ship. Did it feel like an older ship, or was that a good or positive, bad thing?
I like the design of the ship in that, the decor, I guess I should say. I appreciate sort of a traditional decor. But I will say it felt like the crowdest cruise ship we've been on for quite a few cruises. And we do know we were sailing at over capacity. We were around 20 people over, so not much. But that means every cabin must have been sold out, and some cabins must have had 3 or 4 people in them. So yeah, we definitely felt that this ship was the most congested cruise ship we've been on since the MSC. Or at least I did.
Yeah, for sure. Especially after coming off of the Volendam and coming off Canard, it definitely was a very crowded feeling ship.
But again, part of that might have been because of what we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and also part of it might have been, I've said this for a while now, that the modern day cruise ships are built more, or at least in mind of having outdoor venues and being in warm weather. So if you have a cooler climate or a rainy day, all those thousands of seats that are available up on a deck somewhere that people can spread out, they're now inside.
It's true.
So when you have 10 days where like a lot of people went on this cruise that were not from Canada, they were from southern climates.
Yeah.
They thought the whole cruise was really cold and didn't go outside at all.
So we used that to our advantage because we were on embarkation day in our swimsuits in the hot tub by ourselves, nobody there. We went to the retreat, the Lotus Spa pool area. We went there. Nobody was there for days. Generally that is the hardest spot to get a seat on. Anytime we've been on a princess ship, the retreat pool area is usually the most popular because it's an adults only. They generally have nicer seating, all of that. Anyways, no problem ever getting a seat there. 2 hot tubs there, a pool there, and of course we were able to enjoy that. And for us, we had gorgeous weather. I mean, it was rainy in Quebec City that one night, but we used the outdoor decks because nobody was out in them for sure. We went out a few times to check out the movies under the stars. There might have been 1 or 2 people out there watching a movie under the stars.
Yeah, you'll see in the vlogs coming up that multiple times we go to the that pool that's up by the Lotus Spa, and you'll see that we literally had the pool to ourselves, too hot. We could have each sat in our own hot tub if we wanted to.
It's true.
We had the whole facility to ourselves, almost the entire cruise. And once or twice there was 2 or 3 other people there, but not very often.
Yeah, very, very rare. Yeah, there might have been one day where I had a lady sit beside me. One day out of the whole cruise. Yeah. So
that worked in our favor because we're sitting in the hot tub even on the last day of the cruise. We're out there on a sea day going to Boston. We're out there in the swimming pool, even swimming in the swimming pool out in the open deck area, and there's people walking by in like puffer jackets and toques on, right?
They're all looking down at us going, oh, there's those crazy Canadians. Right.
So that kind of worked in our favor.
Yeah.
And the hot tubs are hot tubs. It doesn't.
Yeah, they were hot. They weren't. I mean, I will say they were hotter than like when we're on a princess ship in the Caribbean, like the Enchanted, for instance. I found they kept them cooler, but the temperatures were actually hot, to the point that I had to sit outside of them. So yeah, you weren't cold in a hot tub.
The hot tub doesn't make sense to me because, like, to me, if it's snowing out, that's the best time to be in a hot tub, not when it's like tropical temperatures. Then why do you want to get in a hot tub? So I thought they'd be busier than they were because it was a cooler cruise.
Yeah, we kind of anticipated that there'd be a lot of people in the hot tubs, but that wasn't the case. I mean, there were some people that did it, but generally they were empty. We never had to get in a hot tub with another person. We always found an empty hot tub.
Yeah. So yeah, the design of the ship, I like a classic feeling cruise ship, and this felt like a classic ship to me. So I like that about it. I really didn't like the way that some of it was being used with the venues and the choice of how they put different, entertainment groups here and there.
Yeah, probably one of the biggest sort of issues we found with crowding was the piazza smaller than a lot of the newer cruise ships that have a larger, grander piazza. I would say, like, in comparison, the Emerald Princess to the Enchanted Princess, the piazza's got to be half the size, and yet they're still doing the house band there all the time, and there's only seating for 20 people, yet there's probably around 500 people that want to take part in it. So it would have been nice if they used a larger venue for that. So like the after the ship, they have that lounge called the
Club Fusion
that holds hundreds of people. It would have been nice if they had a house band there.
Yeah, they try so hard to squeeze everything into the piazzas, I find, on all the Princess ships now, even though they got monstrous, amazing venues that can hold lots of people with dance floors, set up with stages, and they're just not using them.
Right.
They go empty. Well, everybody's squeezed into that piazza, and it's making me a little bit insane because I could picture that was an amazing band. We
had an amazing house band.
We would have been dancing all night long, as would other people, but instead only 20 people could get seats, and everyone else had to stand there and just kind of wiggle their hips.
Yeah. A lot of people like us would go and just find a different place so that you could sit down and relax. You know? I didn't want to stand in high heel shoes for hours at a time.
So one of the big pluses about doing a Princess cruise is the medallion and the app and how all that works. So how did you find that?
Hilarious. When it works, it's great. And when it doesn't, it's hilarious. So they like we said earlier, they had some glitches with the whole computer system. But one of the glitches that were affecting us was quite funny, was that every time we ordered a drink, whether it was through the medallion app or whether it was through a waiter, we had 2.5 days where this happened, was every time that we ordered a drink, we'd go back to our cabin and the replica of our drink would be in our cabin waiting for us. So we would go for like a happy hour drink in a bar. And if that bar was closed, we'd order it on the app. Or if the bar was open, we'd order it with a person. And then all of a sudden we'd go back to our room after dinner and there'd be a Cosmopolitan and a Crown Royal sitting there waiting for us. And so there were some glitches with the medallion app, which was kind of funny, but I mean, for a lot of it worked out well and convenient in that we were able to, use it to our advantage, but it was comical. We had quite a few laughs over the glitches that were going on with it. Yeah,
we had one day that we ordered a drink. It didn't show up. We thought, oh, well. And
we went to dinner.
Then we came to the same bar the next night. And there was people working there, so we just ordered a drink from the wait staff, and we had drinks sitting there. We enjoyed our drink, and all of a sudden someone walks in from the door to the bar with a tray of drinks.
Looking for Mr. Jerry.
And they brought the drinks we ordered the day before.
They came 25 hours later. It was literally 25 hours from the time we had placed the order.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. And we've seen a little bit of that before. I remember we were doing the Sky Princess with the wedding cruise that we ordered, drinks for us and my parents that were next door.
Oh yeah, and we got doubled.
We got duplicates of the drinks showed up.
So I guess that happens. But I said at one point to Mr. Canuck, I think our cabin guy's going to think we have a problem, because literally, we come back and see them, and I just pour them down the drain because we're getting ready to go to bed, and but our cabin guy would have to take away these empty glasses the next day.
I must say, though, I tried out, it was on day one, I tried the app out as Mrs. Canuck was unpacking to order some drinks and a snack in the cabin. And I timed it out. It was under 10 minutes from the time I ordered it to the time it was there. And that was like a clubhouse sandwich and 2 drinks, and it was there. I would have thought you couldn't get from the kitchen to our room in that amount of time. Yeah,
I will say that the time that we did use it and it worked well, we were always amazed at how fast we would place an order, because we're used to, like, we've ordered off of the Princess app on different cruise ships, generally Emerald Princess I go back to, and we always think give it a half an hour or 45 minutes, but it was like 5 to 10 minutes every time we ordered. We were just amazed at the speed. So maybe that was an advantage of being on a smaller ship. I don't know, but they definitely were efficient in that area.
So the premier package, what were the pluses for you?
Well, for me, it was, and I think I already stated it earlier in the evening, was the unlimited specialty dining. I thought it was fabulous. I love Sabatini's on Princess. It's probably one of my favorite specialty restaurants. And one of the reasons I really like it is it has a very large menu and there's lots of variety. So they have everything from seafood to chicken to pork to steak to vegetarian dishes. And so being able to go there multiple times, we ended up dining there 3 times in the 10-day voyage. And each time I had a totally different meal, and really thoroughly enjoyed that. And so that, for me, the unlimited specialty dining was huge. And not so much just the food, but also the atmosphere, because being in a specialty dining restaurant, you're in a much smaller venue. And so you're not in this loud, very busy dining room. So it's just much more peaceful dining experience, more relaxed and all of that. So you definitely felt spoiled. And you know, our evenings became an event. The dining is an event. And I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Now you can imagine for me, it was a bit of a challenge because I'm not a steak and seafood person. And a lot of the dining, especially dining, revolves around those two food choices. I find that it's really tough to find a good chicken dish or a veggie dish at specialty dining. And so, but this speaks to the level of service on Princess. And I think a lot of the cruise industry, not just Princess, we've had this happen on Carnival before for personal requests for food. But I went into the Crown and Diet and they said, do you have any allergy concerns? And I said, I don't like steak and seafood, but it's not really an allergy.
Our poor waiter just looked at us like, what am I going to do with him? Because that's literally what they serve in the Crown Grill, right? Is steak and seafood. Anyways, he sent the maitre d' over, and the maitre d' had a little conversation with Jerry and said, what can we get you, sir? And Jerry said, well, I do eat salmon. It's really the only fish. And he said, I will get salmon specially made for you. And so, yeah, that's what he had for dinner.
Yeah, out came the steak and seafood for Mrs. Canuck, and out came salmon for me. And yeah, so that
lots of vegetables.
There's an example of great service on a cruise ship, right? That's the type of service that I think you're expecting to be treated that way on a cruise ship, and sometimes it doesn't happen. And they came through with it in spades. Yeah. It was amazing. Yeah. So that was a good story. And so for that reason, especially dining, I was a little afraid of it, but it wasn't bad. Everybody loves to do the specialty dining. You know me, I'm more of a meatloaf main dining room type of guy.
Chicken nuggets.
So it's not really, and watch the vlogs because you're going to see some funny stuff in the vlogs that ties into some of this interweaving specialty dining and my tastes. But yeah, it was a fun cruise figuring out the dining for me.
One of the things that, I mean, the premier package prior to the upgrade is offered it, but one of the things that we took advantage of was doing the photos often throughout the voyage. And I just have to say, I found the photographers on this ship were like super friendly and just so wonderful. And we really kind of enjoyed, you know, generally trying to get the two of us to sit there for a photo. It's not usually an easy thing. But I thought we had really great photographers on board with us, and it was kind of made it a lot easier for me to convince Mr. Canuck or vice versa to stand there and do photos. And so we enjoyed that part too. And so with the premier package, you get to have 3 photos each, actual photos that you take home, and then you can download all the photos onto your phone. And so we went home with 6 photos and I don't know, probably 50 or 60 more on our phone. So that was a nice little, I do enjoy that they do that. I wish, I keep saying all the time, I wish they had that when our daughter got married on a princess ship. They unfortunately brought that in right after her wedding.
Sorry, I'm at my coughing fit now.
I know. Sorry, guys.
Oh, but a lot of people are asking, and I think we're going to do a whole video about just this, but is the premier package worth it?
We did the math.
It's definitely worth it. Like we figured out, we did a combination of a few drinks here and there with dinner and, sitting in the pool, having a margarita, that type of thing. Plus a lot of waters, Perrier waters, even soft drinks.
Coffees. I enjoy cappuccinos on the cruise.
We were about half and half of having non-alcoholic and alcoholic drinks. When we added it up using the menu price list on the ship, then just what we had to drink almost paid for the premier package. And that didn't even include the cost of what the specialty would have been, the pictures would have been.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely lots of value there. Mm-hmm. So overall, good cruise.
Yes. Very good cruise. Time. I had a wonderful time. I don't want to speak for you, but I think I do often. I do think we had a great time. We loved the princess experience. We had a beautiful cabin. We had probably one of the best. And I mean, one of the things we love about cruising is we generally meet some wonderful crew and staff. And I'd say we had one of the best cabin stewards we've ever had. So that just makes it feel special too, when you meet some wonderful staff members. And loved I loved our princess walk-in closet that I'm fearful I'm not going to have on the Sun. I know I'm not going to have on the Sun Princess, but I love being able to organize my room just like I want on a princess cabin.
Okay, so we'll go to you.
Okay.
Since I can't talk with my cough.
All right.
Any more news on the 2026 group cruise?
No news. Sorry. We really have just been trying to get back to unpacking and Jerry getting over some sickness and getting back into our life. So no, not this week. No, there's no update on 2026 cruise.
Okay. Bradley's question.
Sorry, I don't have times on my thing, so I'm not sure where you're scanning, where you're at. So
Let me help you find it.
if how do formal nights on the Enchanted Princess work? GF is having troubles deciding. Girlfriend is having troubles deciding what to pack, gold or white, depending on what the night's theme might be. So Bradley, I'm not 1,000% sure, but I'm like 95% sure that they're not doing a gold and white night right now as a theme on Princess Cruises. They didn't on our cruise that we just got off of. I've asked a few other people that have been on our Facebook group that have just been coming off of Princess Cruises, whether they had gold and white night, and everybody's told me no. I haven't heard anybody in the last few months do it. But what you will have is 2 formal nights, and so it's just basically wide open, whatever you want to wear as a formal dress. There's no themed nights like a Canard Cruise does, or even like the gold and white that they were doing before. Yeah.
There you go. Oh, JG Hart is asking, did you stop in Charlottetown?
We did stop in Charlottetown. Yeah. We had a fun day in Charlottetown. We stayed just in Charlottetown this time because when we were there in the spring, we went all over PEI trying to do all of Anna Green Gables stuff that I wanted to do. So we had a fun time just checking out the beauty of actual Charlottetown and went to a few different places.
It looks like they had lobster roll and onion rings.
Oh, yes.
We didn't have that.
No, we did not. At the Water Prince Corner Shop. Sounds wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just trying to think. Samantha's asking, you sail Celebrity soon, ? Beyond ?
Apex. Am I correct?
Yes.
Apex is the Celebrity Apex, and we are in that early November.
November, yeah.
Yeah.
Right around the time we're doing Sun Princess.
Yeah.
Joseph wants to know, did we see any color from the maple trees? We did this route in October a couple of years ago, and it was great.
Yeah, so it's so funny because we were debating about that as we left. When we left our property, we're full of maple trees on our property, and they were turning just nicely. And I said, oh, it's going to be beautiful. I think the colors will be just at its peak while we're cruising. But not so. Definitely Northern Ontario had more color than Eastern Canada. We saw the beginning signs of color, but it definitely wasn't at its peak. So yes, probably next week might be more at its peak than it was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we didn't see a lot of color. We had more color at home than we did there.
Definitely.
Brian is asking, did you have any trouble getting reservations for specialty dining with the unlimited dining with the premier package?
We had absolutely none, but I think that was probably because it was new and that we were on an older ship. So yeah, I was able to book Sabatini's and Crown Grill prior to going on the cruise, and I only booked it like a week before we left because Princess had only upgraded us maybe 10 days before or whatever. So I booked those nights, and then when we got on board, we booked a couple of nights at the Steamers restaurant, and then the Gastro Pub was literally just a walk-in. We didn't have a reservation, and we just decided to try it one night, and they had a table for us. So yeah, we had zero problems whatsoever. But for our upcoming Sun Princess, I still, to this day, I've been trying for months to get reservations, and I haven't been able to. As it stands right now, we're going on the Sun Princess in the middle of November, and I don't have any dining reservations. It's been sold out ever since we paid in full. No reservations available. So I think it might be more of an issue depending on what ship you're sailing with.
Yeah, so Sun Princess right now, we are fasting because we have no specialty we can get into, and we have no dining room that we can get into for set dining. Well, 9 o'clock at night.
9 o'clock's the only dining time I could make a reservation for. That's all, and that's all it's been showing me for the last couple of months. So
we're hoping to find a solution to that. That's for sure. Samantha's saying that in September there was no gold white nights.
But an 80s night. Oh, thank you. Yes, there was an 80s party on our ship too that we saw some people dressed up for. I forgot about that. Thank you, Samantha.
And Stray Dog Videos is a question.
Okay. How did the Crown Grill compare to your previous cruise? Also Sabatini's. I'm not sure new and improved is actually better. I think the Crown Grill and Sabatini's hasn't changed in what their menu items were or their offerings. I think I've always had great meals at I would say actually Sabatini's, or I mean Crown Grill on this cruise was probably better than when we were on it in Enchanted. It was okay when I was on it in Enchanted, I felt, whereas I really enjoyed it on this cruise. But it might have been that I changed the cut of meat that I ordered, the type of steak. And so, yeah, so I really enjoyed the Crown Grill, and Sabatini's is by far my favorite. And we had 3 wonderful meals there.
I must say at Sabatini's, I did notice that I thought that some of the servings or some of the courses were smaller size than I had last time.
Definitely.
But that wasn't a bad thing because we couldn't eat it all last time.
Yeah.
So it was more reasonable, the sizes.
I agree. And even this time, we still couldn't eat it all.
Still too much food.
But because there's so many courses when you go there. But yeah, they definitely have, like, their pasta size before used to be so overwhelming. And now they've put it into a more manageable size, in my opinion. Still lots of food, still to the point that we couldn't have dessert, or we shared dessert, or that sort of thing.
Yeah. And again, if there's anything you want on a cruise ship, don't be afraid to ask, especially Princess. I had in Sabatini's, I had spaghetti and meatballs, and they said, oh, it comes with 2 meatballs. And I said, well, can I get more? And they said, have as many as you want. They literally said, and I was tempted to say like 15.
They said, how many do you want, sir? How many? You want 3, 5, 7? How many? As many as you want. That's what they said.
And I said, 4 would be good. Because I thought I might be judged if I ate 10 of them. But yeah, so that was, the service was fantastic at the specialty dining. Yeah. The only thing that I miss doing that, though, is I like having a regular wait staff that I get to know throughout the week. That was a big drawback for me.
That is the disadvantage when you're not in the same set. And I mean, yeah, and that's the same as if you're doing the anytime dining, right?
Yep.
We are very traditional cruisers, I guess, in our heart and our core. And we've always loved the 6 o'clock dining, having the same table the whole week with the same waiter that gets to know you and that sort of thing. But I just definitely felt spoiled on this sort of food avenue that we went this time.
For sure. So we got all the questions done. We're over the hour.
Okay.
And so we'll call it there.
Okay.
And watch out for the vlog series that are going to start rolling out this week. Day 1's going to be out by the end of this coming week, so you'll be able to see us getting on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And the next week we're back doing live again. We've got a couple ideas for some fun lives. We'll see what happens. There's a new TV show on that has cruising in it that a lot of people are talking about, especially on our Patreon and Discord there.
Dr. Odyssey. Have you guys checked this show out? Yeah. It is interesting.
We've got some comments, and it might turn into a whole live. So
we've watched all the episodes now because I PVR'd them knowing we were going away. So we've caught up to what has been released. And yeah, it's been some comical moments watching it. I'm sure if you've watched, you can relate.
They've brought up a few things that I'm not sure if they're true or not. We almost need to bring a cruise expert from the inside in to see whether or not some of these things.
There you go. Well, I think we have one. If you think of Paul and Carol Love to Travel, Carol worked on a cruise ship as a nurse for quite a few years on a celebrity cruise ship. So I'm going to start messaging her my questions every time I watch the show, I think.
Especially about the medical stuff.
About the medical stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So join us next Sunday. We'll see what we're going to do. But everybody have a great, safe week ahead.
Yes. And if you're celebrating Thanksgiving weekend with your family, enjoy, everybody. And thank you for tuning in and watching. And everybody have a great week.
Okay. See you in a week's time. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Bye-bye. Bye.